that you? That's been me for some time, every time I try to bend a piece of metal. I was sitting here the other day and I thought, why can't I do better without spending a lot of money on a big expensive machine? And then I looked over here and realized I have a press sitting right there. Why can't I make that press do my bends? So I've been dreaming about it for a few days. Here it goes. So here's my solution. My solution is, went down to the steel yard, picked up about $30 worth of parts. So my solution is I'm going to weld these two pieces of angle iron onto here. So it gives me a 90-degree channel right here. And then I picked up a couple of these tubes that have a sleeve on the outside of the tube. This is a solid steel rod. So I'm going to weld the steel rod on there and weld this one over here, like this. And then between those two, I'm going to take this piece of bar and weld to these two slides, like that. And then I pick up this piece of metal. This fits the inside of my press perfectly. So I'm going to drill here, put a pin so I can connect it to the press so it stays there and doesn't fall down. Plus it'll use the spring from the press to lift the arm back up. And I'm going to get a plate on here, weld this on here. So the biggest concern is I have to take this here and put 45s on both of these sides, nice and smooth with a grinder. So I'm going to work on that next and get that out of the way so I make sure that I can do that. Because that's the biggest trick to make sure this thing works perfectly is to have that 45. So I'm going to see if I can get that to work first, and then we'll be back. So my plan is I've made a mark back 1/4 inch all the way down, and I made another mark down the center here, which is also in 1/4 inch. So theoretically, if you connect those two lines on a straight line, that should be a straight 45. So I've got my sanding disc on. I like them better than a grinding wheel if we're trying to sand something flat and smooth. And so we're going to give that a go and see how it works. I'll be honest with you, that was real time. That was much faster than I thought it would be. I thought that was one of the worst things I was dreading, that and lining these up so they don't bind when it goes up and down. Anyway, we'll shut her off and get the other side ready. All right, so I got that done. You can see it in here. Looks pretty good. Actually, took the square, put the square on it pretty much all the way down, and it's almost exactly 90 degrees, maybe just a hair over, which is probably good. It'll allow it to go down into the thing. So now I guess the next thing is for me to get these angle irons welded on this plate, get them on there straight together, get that ready, and then I can move on to the posts. So anyway, we'll get those lined up, ready to weld. I got it all clamped up. That's why this cable is so amazing. Before I'd sit here and try and hold it by hand. Now I can just clamp everything up, have it held perfectly in place. Dream to work on, so much better than it was before. So yeah, let's get these tacked in place. Sounds like I didn't turn the air on. I was right. Much better. Clamps out of my way. Everything looks like it's stayed in place where it goes. Everything's good. Go ahead and burn that in. I got this end tacked. What I did is I found a piece of 3/8 steel that the guy cut wrong from my cable. Because I have 1¼ inch here plus minus ½ inch. 3/4, so that 3/8 should space me up perfect. And then I used this square like this, and I made sure that it was perfectly square. I mean, my cut should have been square, but you know how that goes. Then once I got it perfectly square, I tacked it. I'll tack this side, then we'll tack the posts onto the plate and see if it operates up and down. So, sorry, I left you a little bit, but I tacked those posts on. Well, I had it all there. I just went around and welded a little here, a little here, a little here, a little here, try and keep the heat in the same spot. And look at that. Perfect. So now I just need to weld this onto these poles better, and then put the cup in the middle for the bolt. I'm going to have a little bolt that tightens down to hold this on the jack so it goes up and down with the jack. And I've also thought that if it gives me any grief, I could buy a spring that goes on here to help spring this up. So you don't want to have to hold this up while you're fiddling with your metal. So I want to make sure if the hydraulic lift doesn't hold it up, the press, then I'm going to get some external springs that'll hold this up. I mean, it's a little rigid when we get to the top here, which it's never going to come up that far. But I think once I kind of polish these up, get some grease on it, that'll work good. I have decided that I am going to get some, I've got some little like 3/8 by 3/8 solid square. I'm going to weld on the bottom so that when I set it in on the tray, it lines up perfect. I don't have to fiddle with it. It just goes in and kind of drops in so that it's straight on the hydraulic press. So far, so good. All right, so I made that little pocket right there. I know it won't make fun of my welds. I was struggling to see and going around the corner. Need to do some practicing. But anyway, and then I got these all welded off, and now I'm just waiting for it to cool. I went ahead and bolted, as you can see down here, welded a little nut on right there, so I can use a set screw to hold it on to the press jack. But there it is, just waiting for that to cool, and then I'm going to put it on the machine and see if it works. So, update, I got this little cup all welded on. I cleaned everything up. I was a little bit catchy going up and down, so I got out my Dremel, what is it called? Anyway, I use it for porting engines. My die grinder, I guess it is. This is a straight die grinder with some flappy disc. And I cleaned inside of all of the sleeves. And then I put just a very light coat of grease on the holes. Now, up and down like a champ. So now the only thing is we can check it out and see if it works. I also did put, you'll notice here, I came in here on the bottom and put these two straps. They make it so that it'll fit between the shelf on the press and make that work a little bit better. So we're going to put it on the press and see how it works. All right, so I got this done. I got it mounted in the press. I put this set screw in so that it'll stay on and go up and down with the spring of the jack. I played around with a little bit, but I'll just show you. So here's a piece of 1/8 inch, inch and a half. And it goes up and down pretty smooth. I did order well, I didn't order it. I went to buy they have an air assisted jack at Harbor Freight, 20 tons. I'm going to get that, but next week it goes on sale 30% off. So if you guys need one, go get one next week. But I'll have that in here shortly. We'll see how that works. But anyway, here we go. We'll put it in here and see what we can do. Oh, let me see, got to grab my pliers. So it looks like it went just a little over 90, probably because as I already had a bend in it, it was hitting right here. But it does a nice, neat bend, much easier than pounding with a hammer. I'm so excited. Never gonna have to clamp something down and beat it with a hammer again. I have a piece of stainless here. I think it's 0.88. And you'll notice I don't have a jack handle, that's why I'm buying a new one. But it goes up and down pretty smooth, it doesn't bind. It comes back up with the spring so you don't have to lift it and fiddle with it. That's pretty nice. I haven't bent anything wide, but so far I'm super impressed with my project here. Should help me in future projects. Yeah, perfect bend. So nice. It's going to be great. So excited. Hey, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. I have another couple of really cool videos I'm working on. one on a project and then one on the start of our property, off-grid property. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.